Overwhelmed by your genealogy research to-do list? Well, let's start 2025 off right with a fresh research plan that keeps you focused, organized, and making progress. Hey there, I'm Lisa Lisson, a genealogy expert with over 15 years of experience helping others find their ancestors. On this channel, I share my best strategies, tips, and tools for uncovering your family history and growing a healthy family tree, all without the overwhelm. Are you ready to kick off your genealogy research for 2025? I know that I am, and every year, like many of you, I like to sit down and refresh my genealogy plan for the year. Kind of set a, genealogy New Year's resolution. Only, I actually prefer to create New Year's goals as opposed to resolutions, but that's just me. So today, what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you exactly through what it is I do each year. I'm sharing the steps that I take to keep myself organized, on track, and making meaningful progress in growing my family tree. Isn't that what we all want to do? Now, why do I do this? Why do I sit down each January in this season of making resolutions, creating new goals for ourselves? Why do I do that for my genealogy research? Well, quite simply because genealogy research can be, overwhelming. And it's easy to get lost in the middle of a research project. So by taking stock at the beginning of the year, I can be intentional about what I want to research in the coming months. And that way I ensure that I can actually make progress on my own personal research. So when I do this, I focus on three things. Number one, I'm looking back on the past year as to what actually worked for me in 2024 when it came to research. What worked in my research and what didn't go so well in my research. And then I'm going to set clear, manageable goals for my research going forward in 2025. And number three, I'm going to reorganize and reassess my genealogy research tools that I've been using. The goal of this is to make sure I'm researching efficiently going forward. So essentially, I'm just hitting a reset button on my genealogy research each January. And that way I can approach the next year of research with clarity and motivation. So if that sounds like something you would like to do, keep watching. Now, the first step that I do is actually reviewing my 2024 research. So for example, in 2024, I didn't actually get to do as much personal genealogy research as I had hoped to. Family commitments held much of my attention for this past year. But when I did sit down to search for my ancestors, I realized there were areas of that research that I didn't really focus on enough, like that Elliott line from the 1800s in Virginia. So when looking at my Elliott research, I asked myself, what were my biggest wins for that research project? And to be honest, I can't say I really had any because I didn't spend enough time. And I recognize that now that I didn't spend enough time researching the line, but also researching the right things when I sat down. So I recognized that, in this particular case, I didn't actually make much progress, but that's okay because at least I recognize that. The next thing that I asked myself is, what didn't go so right? What was holding up my research? What were the sticking points on my research? And for my Elliott family research, what the sticking point is, what is keeping me from making progress, or what kept me from making progress, is the fact that the records that I need are not online. I need to go take a road trip. I need to head to Richmond, Virginia, to the Library of Virginia to actually access some of the records that I need and that would be beneficial to my research. So the next question I ask myself when it comes to looking back on my genealogy research for the years, what resources and tools helped me the most? And while it wasn't any one particular database, what really helped me the most were the systems that I have in place. My workflow systems for my genealogy research, my file naming conventions, formulas that I created for myself. Having these in place allow me to find what I need quickly and efficiently and get right into the heart of my research without having to spend that first little bit of my limited research time trying to figure out where did I stop and where did I put that document and really what am I doing right now? So systems were the resource that truly helped me stay efficient and take advantage of the very limited time that I had for personal research this past year. So taking time to review what worked well for you in the past year of your research and what didn't work well will show you where you need to focus your energy on the coming year. Now, if you had a big genealogy win in 2024, I would love to hear about it in the comments below. Now, the second thing I do when I reset my research in January is I set my genealogy goals for the year. So for me, 2025 is all about focusing on my Elliott family line and finally figuring out who King Elliott's parents are. Seriously, is that not a great name for an ancestor? But I'm not really going to just stop there. I'm not going to stop with just wanting to find out who his parents or who his father is. I'm actually going to set a very specific goal, and it's going to be a very specific SMART goal. Now, you may be familiar with SMART goals, you may not, but it's a way of writing your goals and thinking about goals so that they are more achievable. So the S stands for specific. Okay, the very specific part of my goal for the Eliot research is to identify the father of King Eliot. Okay, he is my great-great-great-grandfather. So M stands for measurable. So what can I do very specifically to make progress and measure my progress for this goal? So it might be that I want to find 3 new records by mid-year on the Eliot family. Okay. That's something that I can do. Now the A stands for achievable. So we want to set achievable goals, right? So what is achievable when it comes to my research for him? That would be, I could dedicate 2 hours a week toward research on this family line, or maybe that's 8 hours a month. In genealogy terms, that doesn't actually sound like a whole lot, but I also know about the commitments that I have coming up. So I know that that could be the limit of what I could do, at least for the upcoming months. I may change up my goal in mid-year, but I know that coming up for the first half of 2025, I've got a lot going on. And so I need to make sure I keep this realistic. Now the R stands for, is the goal relevant or is it realistic? Okay, in this case, and yes, this is actually a very relevant goal because the Eliot family had a lot of collateral, and I have a lot of collateral ancestors in the area where the Eliot family lived. So I can't guarantee that I'm going to find out who King Eliot's father was. But in the process, I'm going to be learning a lot about that area of South Central Virginia where they lived, around that border area with North Carolina. So I'm actually going to still be learning a lot about the land and the life and the history surrounding other lines of my family as well. So the goal is to find his father. Can I guarantee it? No. But will I learn a lot in the process? Oh yes, a lot of information that I will be able to apply to other areas of my research. And the T in SMART stands for time. Okay, it's time bound. When will I have completed this particular research goal? What is the date? What is the end date on this, right? And so for this case, this is going to be a year-long probably project that I'm going to be working on. So I'm calling it the, by Christmas of 2025. Let's call it that. So I do put a time on that. Now, the important thing here is that I have a clear plan about what it is I want to find and how I'm going to achieve that goal. It keeps me on track and it ensures that I'm going to make progress. So I want you to think to yourself, what is one goal that you're setting up for your genealogy research this year? Now, step number 3 in my reset is going to be updating my tools and resources that I use. So let's talk about organization for a moment here. This is the time of year that I like to reassess and make sure that my organization system is still working for me and making any adjustments that I need to. Typically, I don't really need to make a major overhaul of this, but sometimes I do need to make little tweaks along the way as my research has progressed or my style of research has changed over time. For example, I'm also going to be updating my genealogy research plan template. It already includes columns for things such as what I know, where I've searched, what records I need to search, where to find those records. But at this time, I'm also going to be adding a little tiny reference section at the bottom of my research template. This is simply a reference section where I'm going to put in my file naming formulas for records that I find and need to download. So that way I have everything right at my fingertips and there's no switching back and forth between tabs to find something that I've already referenced previously. Now, the other thing that I do this time of year is I reassess my backup options. Backing up our research, guys, is not optional. It's essential. We don't want to lose our work. And so I do take a few moments to review, how is my storage space going in those cloud storage options? How is that storage space on my external hard drive? Do I need to invest in more storage? So this is something I do take a few moments to assess. It's very quick and it's fast, but it's essential to my plan. Now, if you're feeling like your genealogy research and files and records are, out of control, my January training, Taming the Chaos, Organize Your Genealogy Research, will show you exactly how to tackle that. I'll walk you through everything from clearing that genealogy research clutter to creating those efficient genealogy research plans. You'll find a link in the description below to learn more about registering for that training. Now, step number 4 is creating this genealogy research plan. And I want you to think of your genealogy research plan, as your framework, your roadmap for that particular project. For me personally, I create research plans for each of my research goals. And honestly, I don't perform research without that first. For each goal, I write out what I already know, what questions I still have, and well, where I'll search next. Now, I have talked a lot about creating genealogy research plans in previous videos, so I will have a link to those in the description below as well. Now, step number 5 is, well, setting up an accountability system, if you will. Accountability is really key to meeting those goals. It is very easy to let those goals slip by, to let that research slip by because, well, I don't have a lot of time, I've got other commitments, but I'm going to encourage you to find a genealogy research buddy and be accountability partners to each other. Set up quarterly check-ins with that research buddies. How is your research going? Did you actually make that trip to that repository you were planning on? Why did you? Why didn't you? And they can check in with you as well. It's a fun way to collaborate with your research. It's a fun way to encourage each other and to actually bounce ideas off of each other when it comes to research. So I absolutely encourage you to set up, to find that genealogy buddy and make those meetings. It's a great way to go have a cup of coffee with a genealogy buddy and make progress on your research as well. So that's how I'm refreshing and resetting my genealogy goals for 2025. I'm reflecting on what worked. I'm reflecting on what didn't work. I'm setting clear goals. I'm reorganizing my tools and making sure everything's updated. And I'm going to stay accountable. Now, learn more about genealogy research plans in this next video on the screen. Can't find your ancestors? Well, your genealogy plan is not working. It's on your screen now.